Infrastructure as a Service, or IaaS for short, is essentially an instant computing infrastructure. It's an infrastructure that can be provisioned and even managed right over the internet. Infrastructure as a service allows organizations to quickly scale up and down with demand and only pay for what they need. What it does is help avoid the expense and complexity of buying and managing physical hardware such as servers, data center infrastructure, and the like. Instead, each resource is offered as a service component, and then you only rent that particular service component for as long as you need it. The cloud service provider, in this case Azure, manages that infrastructure, while the company simply purchases, installs, configures, and manages the software piece of it. Items including operating systems, middleware, and applications. Common infrastructure as a service business scenarios include things that businesses would typically do with infrastructure as a service. These items include test and development, where an organization's teams can quickly set up and take down test environments, development environments, etc. It also allows them to bring new applications to market faster. Infrastructure as a service simply makes it quick and economical, actually, to really scale up development and test environments and also scale them back down. Another common business scenario is web hosting. Running websites using infrastructure as a service can actually be less expensive than traditional web hosting that you see online. As far as storage, backup, and recovery goes, organizations can avoid the capital outlay for storage and complexity of storage management. Obviously, this would include staff to manage data, meet legal compliance requirements, etc. Infrastructure as a service is useful for handling that unpredictable demand and obviously a steady growth of storage needs. It also allows an organization to simplify planning and management of backup and recovery. Running web applications is another common use of infrastructure as a service, because infrastructure as a service provides all that infrastructure that's needed to support those web apps. It includes the storage, it includes the web and application servers, network resources, etc. An organization can quickly deploy a web app on infrastructure as a service and then quite easily scale that infrastructure up or down as needed. When high-performance computing is needed, infrastructure as a service is there. High-performance computing, or HPC, is typically done on supercomputers, computer grids, or computer clusters. What it does is help solve complex problems that involve millions of variables or millions of calculations. Typical examples of high-performance computing include earthquake and protein folding simulations. Weather predictions are typically handled by high-performance computing operations. Financial modeling and also evaluating product designs are also examples of high-performance computing requirements. Big data analysis is also a common use for infrastructure as a service. You see the term everywhere, big data. It's a popular term that's used for massive data sets. These data sets contain valuable patterns, trends, and associations. Mining these massive data sets requires a huge amount of processing power. Infrastructure as a service economically provides this stuff. There are many advantages of infrastructure as a service. By leveraging infrastructure as a service, an organization can eliminate capital expense and reduce ongoing costs. This is possible because infrastructure as a service sidesteps the upfront expenses of setting up a data center. This is especially useful to startup organizations and businesses who are testing ideas. Infrastructure as a service also improves business continuity and offers disaster recovery. It does so by allowing an organization to achieve high availability, business continuity, and DR without a lot of expense. With the right service level agreement in place, infrastructure as a service can reduce costs associated with things like business continuity and disaster recovery. Infrastructure as a service also offers the ability to innovate rapidly. When an organization has decided to launch a new product or initiative, the infrastructure that's required to do so can be spun up literally in minutes or hours, rather than days, weeks, or even months that it would normally take. It also allows organizations to respond quicker to shifting business conditions. When leveraging infrastructure as a service, organizations can focus on their core businesses. They can do this because infrastructure as a service frees up an organization's team and allows that team to focus on the core business rather than managing the core infrastructure. Leveraging infrastructure as a service allows an organization to increase stability, reliability, and supportability because there's no need to maintain or upgrade software, hardware, infrastructure components, etc. There's no need to troubleshoot equipment problems. The service provider typically assures that the infrastructure is reliable and meets service level agreements. In a lot of cases, a cloud service provider can also provide better security for applications and data that's even better than what an organization could attain in-house. It also allows an organization to get new apps deployed out to users faster. This is because the organization doesn't need to first set up an infrastructure. They can just work on developing and delivering the apps. That way they get out to the users faster using infrastructure as a service. There are specific situations when it's most advantageous to use infrastructure as a service. Infrastructure as a service is great for startups and small companies because it doesn't require the organization to spend time or money trying to create hardware and software to run the business. That said, it's also beneficial for larger organizations who need complete control over their applications and infrastructures, but are trying to save on costs by only purchasing what is actually needed or consumed. Quickly growing companies can also leverage infrastructure as a service because they don't have to commit to specific hardware or software. This is great for when needs change and evolve. Infrastructure as a service also helps when an organization is unsure of the demands of a new application, as it provides lots of flexibility to scale up and down as needed. Typical examples of infrastructure as a service offerings include the Google Compute Engine, Microsoft Azure, Amazon Web Services, Rackspace, DigitalOcean, etc.